I remember the night the city felt louder than my thoughts. Rain pressed against the windows of my apartment like it wanted answers. Traffic hummed below, neon signs blinking red and blue. A late-night diner across the street still serving coffee and fries. I stood there holding my phone, staring at a message that said nothing important and yet changed everything. "We should talk," she wrote. 4 words. No punctuation. No warmth at that moment. I didn't know it. But something had already ended. I'd spent years believing loyalty was quiet. Showing up. Paying bills on time. Remembering birthdays. Bringing takeout home when work ran late. I thought consistency was love. I thought trust grew from routine. I didn't realize how invisible that made me. The flashback hits me even now. A Sunday afternoon, months earlier. We were walking downtown, past street musicians and crowded crosswalks. She laughed at something on her phone and tilted the screen away from me without thinking. Just a reflex. I felt it then, a faint pull in my chest, like a loose thread. I ignored it. Pride told me not to ask questions I wasn't ready to hear answers to. Back in the apartment, I typed and erased replies. My reflection in the dark window looked older than I felt. I'd been working double shifts at the logistics firm, chasing promotions, chasing stability. I believed building a future meant sacrificing the present. She believed something else, though she never said it out loud. When she finally came over that night, she didn't sit down. She stood near the door, keys in hand, coat still on. The room smelled like leftover pizza and cold coffee. She spoke calmly, carefully, like someone reading a script they'd practiced. She said we'd grown apart. She said she needed more. She said none of this was my fault. That's when I noticed what she didn't say. She didn't say she loved me. She didn't say she wanted to fix it. She didn't cry. I nodded. I listened. I kept my voice steady. Inside, something cracked, but it didn't make a sound. I didn't beg. I didn't accuse. I didn't ask about the late nights, or the new passwords, or the sudden interest in places we never went together. I told myself dignity mattered. I told myself silence was strength. After she left, the apartment felt hollow, like sound couldn't settle. I sat on the floor until dawn, watching headlights crawl across the ceiling. Regret tried to talk to me. So did anger. I let neither stay. In the days that followed, the city kept moving. Subways roared. Offices filled. Coffee cups stacked up in trash cans. Friends offered advice I didn't want. Some said fight for her. Some said move on fast. Everyone had an opinion. None of them lived in my head. I kept thinking about a sentence my father once said. Back when I was a kid, watching him lace work boots at 5 in the morning. Never chase what walks away, he said. Build something so solid it doesn't need running after. Okay. At the time, I thought he meant jobs, careers, money, standing alone in that apartment. Watching the sun rise between concrete buildings, I realized he might have meant something else entirely that week. I cleaned the apartment without music, without distractions, touching every object we'd chosen together. I boxed photos, folded sweaters she'd forgotten, wiped counters, until my hands smelled like lemon soap. Each small task slowed my breathing. Each choice felt deliberate. I stopped scrolling. I stopped explaining myself. I walked the neighborhood at night, past gyms glowing through glass, bookstores closing early, offices where people stayed late, chasing reasons. I wrote goals on paper and crossed nothing out. Sleep came in pieces. Dreams replayed warnings I'd dismissed. Somewhere beneath the noise, a quiet resolve formed, thin at first, then steady, promising change I couldn't yet name. I sensed the city watching, patient and indifferent, waiting to see whether I would fold, fade quietly, or finally stand up for myself without chasing anyone again. I didn't know what I was about to lose. I also didn't know what I was about to become. Asterisk. The city didn't care that my world had tilted. It kept selling coffee before sunrise and cheap tacos after midnight. I leaned into that indifference. It helped. I woke up earlier not because I wanted to improve myself, but because lying in bed felt dangerous. Thoughts grow teeth when you stay still too long. Work became my anchor. The logistics floor buzzed with scanners, forklifts, and clipped conversations. I volunteered for projects nobody wanted. I stayed late. Not to prove anything, just to avoid going home to silence. My manager, Bill, noticed. He didn't praise me. He simply handed me more responsibility. The kind that quietly separates dependable men from replaceable ones. Some nights, memories ambushed me without warning. A smell from a street cart. A song drifting from a car window. I'd see her laughing in the passenger seat, fries balanced on the dashboard, arguing about which movie to watch. Those moments didn't break me. What broke me was realizing how often I'd been present without being seen. Flashback. A dinner months before the end. A burger joint near the river. She talked about a coworker's promotion. Eyes bright, voice alive. I nodded, half listening, checking emails under the table. I thought providing was enough. I didn't notice the quiet disappointment settle between us like an unpaid bill. Back in the present, I cut distractions. I canceled streaming services. Deleted social apps. I joined a gym that smelled like iron and effort, the kind where nobody cared about your feelings. I learned discipline there. Not motivation. Discipline shows up even when pride is bruised. I changed my diet. Simple food, eggs, steak, coffee without sugar. Cooking for one taught me patience. Each routine stacked on the next. Slowly, structure replaced chaos. I wasn't chasing self-improvement. I was building stability because instability scared me more than loneliness. Friends checked in less over time. People don't know what to do with a man who isn't complaining or chasing rebounds. I didn't talk about her. Not because it didn't hurt, but because saying her name gave the past too much oxygen. One night. Weeks later, I saw her from across the street. She was outside a bar, laughing with a group. Her hand rested on someone else's arm. I felt the old urge rise, the one that says, go prove your worth. Go interrupt. Go remind her who you were. I didn't move. That moment mattered more than I understood then. It was the first time I chose restraint over reaction. I walked home under flickering streetlights, heart pounding, knowing something irreversible had just begun. I didn't realize it yet, but I was learning how power actually works. Power didn't arrive loudly. It arrived quietly, disguised as consistency. Weeks turned into months. My body changed first, then my posture, then the way people responded when I spoke. Confidence isn't volume. It's certainty without explanation. At work, I was moved into a leadership role. Not flashy, just trusted. Meetings replaced manual tasks. Decisions replaced instructions. I noticed how often people hesitate, waiting for approval. I stopped waiting. Flashback. Her voice once telling me I was too safe. The words came back during a late-night walk downtown. I finally understood what she meant. Safe wasn't boring. It was predictable. Predictable isn't bad, but it becomes invisible when ambition lacks direction. I enrolled in night classes, finance operations, negotiation. I wanted language for the instincts I'd ignored. Knowledge sharpened me. Pride followed effort, not attention. My circle changed. Fewer people. Better conversations. Men who talked about growth instead of gossip. Women who noticed presence before appearance. I didn't pursue anyone. I wasn't healed yet. I knew the difference. One afternoon, my phone buzzed with her name. No warning. Just a message. Hey, how have you been? I stared at it for a long time. Then I put the phone face down and finished my workout. Hours later, I replied with one word. Good. No punctuation. No bait. The response came slower than before. Curiosity replaced certainty. I felt it. That shift wasn't victory. It was clarity. I saw how attraction works when desperation leaves the room. I didn't meet her. I didn't explain myself. I let silence do what words never could. Something inside me settled that day. Not bitterness, not revenge, acceptance. I wasn't rebuilding to be seen. I was rebuilding because I refused to collapse quietly. The city lights felt different now. Less threatening, more open. I walked taller without trying. I still didn't know how this would end, but I knew who I was becoming. Asterisk success attracts tests. Mine came disguised as opportunity. A competing firm noticed my work and made an offer. More money. More authority. A leap. I accepted without hesitation. Growth demands risk. The new office overlooked the river. Glass walls. Quiet confidence. I thrived there. Pressure sharpened me instead of breaking me. I learned to delegate, to listen, to say no without apology. Months passed. One evening, at a charity event downtown, I saw her again. This time, she saw me first. Her smile faltered. Not because I looked better, but because I looked settled. Grounded. She approached cautiously, like someone entering unfamiliar territory. We exchanged pleasantries. She asked questions. I answered politely. Briefly, she mentioned missing our conversations. I smiled. I found new ones. That was the truth. Later that night, I thought about forgiveness. Not for her, but for myself. I'd ignored warning signs because stability felt noble. I confused endurance with love. I forgave that version of me. The man standing there now didn't need to prove anything. He had already paid the cost of becoming. The final test wasn't her return. It was the choice it offered. She reached out again weeks later. Longer messages. Regret hidden between lines. She talked about timing. About confusion. About realizing what she lost. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. I didn't reopen old wounds. I told her I wished her well. That was it. Afterward, sat alone in my apartment new place. Higher floor. Wider view and felt something unexpected. Freedom, not the loud kind. The quiet kind that doesn't need witnesses. Flashback. My father again, boots by the door, voice steady. Never chase what walks away. Finally understood. He wasn't talking about pride. He was talking about self-respect. Asterisk, the truth is simple, but it takes pain to accept it. I didn't win because she noticed me again. I won because I no longer needed her to. People think transformation is about revenge. It isn't. Revenge keeps you tied to the past. Growth cuts the cord. She didn't lose me when she left. She lost me when I became someone she could no longer reach. I didn't chase her. I became what she lost.